hey, is it possible that you didn't ask these questions because this man was white and because you wanted the social capital of being with what you thought was a rich white man? Is that a possibility? Hi guys, it's Jessica. Welcome and welcome back to the Not Carrie Bradshaw YouTube channel / podcast where I discuss all things style, pop culture, wellness, and whatever else comes up from week to week. We have so much to talk about this episode. Okay, we have to talk about the Danish deception of it all. We have to talk about Brian McKnight and whatever the hell he got going on mentally and emotionally and spiritually. But first, we have to kick off the episode with our fashion segment as per usual. I got to attend two really incredible fashion exhibits while I was visiting home in Atlanta. And the irony is I moved away from Atlanta to pursue a career in fashion and to study fashion. And then I visited Atlanta this time and I was like, oh my God, we got fashion at home. We got fashion at home. So there are two fashion exhibits that I absolutely loved. The first one was the Andre Leon Talley Style is Forever exhibit at SCAD. And that is going on until March 1st of next year. And then there's the Victor and Rolf Fashion Statements exhibit at the High Museum of Art in Atlanta. So if you are in the Atlanta area, I highly recommend. I feel like the Andre Leon Talley exhibit was very intentional. It's very well thought out. They have some of his most iconic looks, which really highlighted just how impactful he was in this industry that did not love him back properly. And I wish that he had gotten this kind of attention, gotten these flowers when he was still with us, but for a lot of reasons he didn't. I have very mixed feelings about Andre Leon Talley, which I've written about on my Substack. I will put a link to that in the episode description if you're curious. And I do recommend going to the SCAD Andre Leon Talley exhibit when they do the tour. There is a SCAD student that leads the tour and they just add a little bit more texture, context, and explanation basically about some of the exhibits that you might not otherwise get if you do it solo. So highly recommend that. The Victor and Rolf exhibit at the High was so colorful, so dynamic, and it felt so personal. A lot of times at fashion exhibits, the fashions are kind of far from you. There's like a partition, there's something separating you. This is not the case with the Victor and Rolf. And these are two, they are a Danish fashion duo that I really quite enjoy. I think that they make the kind of fashion that isn't always necessarily meant to be wearable. Sometimes fashion is art and vice versa. And people have issues with that. People feel like, does it count as fashion or as clothing if it can't reasonably be worn on the body? We'll let the philosophers decide. For now, I really love people who make art for the sake of art. That to me is really cool. Whether you get it, whether you don't, there's something really inspiring about seeing the avant-garde and the fact that you can reach out and touch these garments. I don't recommend that you do, but you could, because they're on the floor in so many of the different parts of the exhibit. I really loved it. So again, if you're in the Atlanta area, hit up those two exhibits. Just absolutely thrilled that my hometown is a location for fashion in that way. That made me really happy. Don't get excited. I'm not moving back. Not anytime soon, honey. Mark my words. Forever Georgia Peach, but we love our Brooklyn home for now. So coming up this episode, we have to talk about this TikTok saga that has had everyone by the balls. And we also need to have a family discussion about Brian McKnight. The two are related, trust me, so stay tuned. All right, so let me give you the truncated version of what's been happening on the TikTok if you are not chronically online the way I'm chronically online, if your algorithm did not serve this up to you on Beyonce's internet the way it did for me. There is a Nigerian-American young lady named Onyeka. She was a contestant, I guess you call it, on The Bachelor. And she made a 27-part TikTok series where she recounts, details what happened when she met what she perceived to be a gorgeous white man. They fell in love. They had a whirlwind romance, and they got married, and turns out that he was a scammer. He scammed her, her family, and her friends out of thousands of dollars, well into the six figures. And she, like I said, told everyone about this on TikTok in a 27-part series. And some people were like, oh, so like Risa Tisa. Not so. Not so. And I'm going to tell you why. Her revealing this did not go the way she thought it was going to go. She was expecting for everyone to see her solely as a victim. But what actually happened is people were like, there's something fishy here. Let's talk about it. And I want to be very clear about a couple of things. Number one, anybody can get got. I love a good documentary about a cult, about a con man, about things like that. Freaking fascinate me, because I think that we're all fascinated with true crime and things like that, because we like to voyeuristically feel like if we can pick apart the bad thing that happened to someone else, maybe we could prevent it from happening to us. And I'm telling you that a lot of people who have fallen prey to cults and scams, they're not all idiots. They're not all lacking in self-awareness. They just have a vulnerability that a predator was able to exploit. That's what that is. Anybody can get got. So I want to be very clear about that. What this man did to her was absolutely wrong. For sure, it was wrong. However, and at this point in the viral lifestyle, right, or life cycle, right, she's now at the point where it's Black women's fault. Black women are the enemy. Black women are so mean to me. This isn't about race. You know, scammers can look any kind of way. I just watched something where this woman was scammed and her partner was Black, and scammers can look any kind of way. Hey, we know that. We don't know that you know that, because there are certain, let's call them social markers, right? Just like the whole old money thing, those people have been socialized to pick up on certain markers to indicate whether a person is one of them. There are certain social markers that we picked up on that we said, oh, there's something else at play. And lo and behold, there was something else at play. This was a scheme that Todd set up. Okay. What this young lady is missing that Risa Tisa had, it wasn't just that Risa Tisa held herself accountable. It was also that Risa Tisa left, and in this instance, this man left her. And you kind of get the feeling as you're watching these videos that she still has these romantic feelings for him. It kind of seems like she's hoping that he will come back and that they can work this out. So that's one thing. But the other glaring red flag that she missed is the one within herself. We cannot overlook the fact that if this had been a Black man who came to you and said, and this is what this white man told her, that he is royalty, okay, that he's a part of a Danish royal lineage, that he's an Olympic gold medalist, but then he came in bronze on another thing, and that he's a real estate developer and he's very wealthy. You gave that man benefit of the doubt because he was white. I am so sorry. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if that message has reached you through what people are saying to and about you on social media. But I have a hard time believing that if a Black man, especially a Black American man, had approached you and said, hey, I have all this money. I'm extremely successful. I come from a very good, Black family. We've been wealthy for generations. You would have looked that up immediately, because there are certain people who have been conditioned to be suspicious of Black people's success. Example, do y'all remember when suddenly, for some reason, people became aware of Birkin bags, and it looked like every celebrity had a Birkin bag. It looked like every celebrity Black girl had a Birkin bag. And people kept saying, well, how could she afford that? What'd she do? Where'd she get it? And it's a natural thing that if you see anyone who is living a lavish lifestyle, especially these days in this economy, I think at this point we're all kind of like, but where'd the money come from? Some of us do that to everyone, and some of us are only suspicious when Black people or people of color have success, but especially Black people. You just don't trust it when a Black person tells you that. And based on these social markers, we can tell that you are the kind of person who is quite possibly more suspicious of Black people than you are of white people. One of, I feel like, the greatest privilege that some straight white men get to benefit from is benefit of the doubt. People will assume that that person is good for it based on certain social markers. And the other thing that made us look at this young lady sideways was she kept talking about, when she's describing how handsome she perceives him to be, she keeps talking about blonde hair, blue eyes, blonde hair, blue eyes. Now, as a Black girl, as a Black American girl who feels like if you fine, you fine. You can be a cutie patootie of any race. My God, on today. Even when I describe a white celebrity or non-Black celebrity that I find to be attractive, I am never I'm never really quite describing blonde hair, blue eyes. I'm going to tell you a white man who a lot of Black girls think is incredibly fine, Theo James. I am not going to describe that man as tall, dark, and handsome because I think that that's crazy. I think it's crazy to refer to a white person or a non-Black person of color as dark. Like, what are you talking about? That is so crazy to me, okay? But the fact that she kept, and even when I discussed with other friends of mine, oh my God, I do think that this like certain actor or this person is attractive. I don't think that we're ever really saying blonde hair, blue eyes as if that's what made the person attractive. So I also find it fascinating how people who are into white standards of beauty, how the label is enough. If you're thin, you're hot. If you're blonde, you're hot. If you have blue eyes, you're hot. They don't be looking at no features or nothing. It's just the labels, and I find that fascinating. That's enough for you to consider a person attractive. So it's the fact that she kept highlighting those features, and those are very Eurocentric, Anglo-Saxon standards of beauty. I just have never heard a Black girl describe her ideal partner or describe a partner that she finds attractive or a person that she finds attractive with eye and hair color that don't curl over for me, because we typically are looking at features. So the lack of empathy that I think she feels like she's getting is because of a concept that it took my therapist, I'm not going to tell y'all how long, okay, to get me to understand. You can be a victim. A person can do you wrong. Point blank, period. And there are some instances where perhaps you have a pattern that you have not yet identified to where you're co-creating your own suffering. And I was outraged when Dr. Carla hit me with that. I mean, like, I was pissed off. Who sent you? Whose side are you on? What you mean? So you trying to tell me? And it took a minute for me to understand that, oh, I do have a little bit more control, a little bit more power over some outcomes in my life if I can break this pattern, if I can identify this pattern, and I can do things to counteract this pattern. And I don't think that this girl has come to terms with that principle, with that possibility that, hey, what this man did was inarguably wrong, that he scammed you and your family and your friends out of thousands of dollars. However, and plus, semicolon, maybe this happened because you are male-centered, and maybe this happened also because you seem to prioritize whiteness. You seem like you were the token Black girl, and like you liked being the token Black girl, and like maybe you would have felt like you belonged more in certain spaces if you could have had this white man on your arm. And for a lot of Black women who are possibly part of the 98%, a lot of us looked at your situation and wanted to hold your hand very gently and tell you, hey, is it possible that you didn't ask these questions because this man was white and because you wanted the social capital of being with what you thought was a rich white man? Is that a possibility? Maybe. And so now Black women are the issue. So you're also not happy with your audience because typically your audience looks like you. There's causation and there's correlation. Possibly your algorithm pushed this story to more Black people than white people. And I'm going to tell you what's interesting. The Asian women are whacking you over the head and the white women are whacking you over the head because you can't assume that any person of any identity doesn't have the possibility or isn't capable of getting over on you. You suspended any suspicion. You didn't Google anything because you believed this man because he was white. I'm so sorry. That's what it is. And I looked at this and I thought that I was missing something. I thought people were being so hard on her because people are always so hard on Black girls. And I was like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that you and your whole family got just because this man had blonde hair and blue eyes and you found him attractive? And so now everybody got to file for bankruptcy, get on credit relief, or do whatever they got to do to get their life back together because this man had blonde hair and blue eyes. That dog won't hunt. That dog won't hunt for me. Also this. Let's have a better understanding of how money works. If you are new here, I don't have a great understanding of how money works, but you know what I do have? A financial advisor. And a sister who is both a Taurus and a CPA, and she has no problem telling me how wrong I am about many things. It's an issue in our relationship, okay? There are things that I don't know that I will seek counsel on, right? So I'm gonna be clear about that. But a person who claims to be this wealthy, this connected, royal, successful, all the things, if they fall on hard times, why would they come to you, a civilian, for money? I don't think that that's how that works. I don't know, in my experience of being around extremely wealthy people, working for and with extremely wealthy people, I can't see either of those people coming to me and saying, hey, can you help me out with a couple $1,000s? I'm a civilian. That didn't strike you as odd. That didn't, okay. Because I know we talk about red flags, and a lot of times the red flags are very glaring to us because we have the 20/20 vision. We're not in it. She's on the other side of it. Woo-de-woo-de-woo. However, Anne, you ain't ask no questions. I am a very regular person, and I'm going to Google. I don't believe in looking through people's phones and stuff like that, but I am going to do some recon. Hey, girl, do you know this dude? You heard anything about him? What you think about him? What you do some recon. That's just necessary in the year of our Lord 2025. These people be crazy and grifters, and you ain't asked no questions, and we can all see why you didn't. That's all people want you to see. This was wrong. What he did to you was wrong, and some part of you co-created this because you wanted the social capital, not only of being married, because I do understand the pressure, the societal pressure and expectation for marriage, for partnership. I get it. You wanted that. You wanted the social capital of being with a rich white man. And all those red flags looked green to you. Which brings us to Brian McKnight. I am so disappointed that I can't listen to your music in peace. I can't, do I ever cross your mind anytime, you in peace. One last try in peace because you feel like it's okay to go out here and vilify your first white wife under the guise of religion. You hate this lady. You hate that y'all had kids together because you feel like those kids were raised in sin. They were born of sin. And you are so happy to be with your new wife. And her kids aren't your kids. They're not born of you, right? But you have so much praise for this non-Black woman. And you vilify this Black woman under the guise of religion. And the thing is, I want to be so clear. I don't care about interracial dating. I really, really don't. At this point, I might jump ship too. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? From a numerical perspective, maybe we need to consider some other options. I don't know. We'll see. As my mama say, you don't know what God got for you. I don't look at Black men who are with non-Black partners and turn my nose up or anything like that. But I do look at people who their standard of good, their standard of beauty, their standard of worthy is immediately someone who doesn't look like them or the people who look like them. That says something. So it's not the fact that you moved on. It's not the fact that you hate your kids and you speak ill of your child who is no longer on this plane of existence. It's not just that. It's zooming out a bit and it's saying, I wonder if the fact that this woman isn't Black has anything to do with the disdain that you have for the first wife. I don't care about your quote unquote preference, even though preferences don't come from nowhere. They are shaped by a lot of different things. I can't fault you for your preference, even though that comes from somewhere, but I'm not going to belabor that point. But the point at which you have to vilify Black women in order to justify Black women not being your preference, that's when I have a problem. That's when I have questions. What is so good, so special, so right, so much better about this woman? And then what kind of woman are you that you enjoy it? Like, you never want to be the kind of woman who enjoys a man speaking ill of their exes because that is indicative of how he may one day speak about you. When we were in our 20s, it was okay for us to, I remember us saying, oh my God, this is so trash. This was back when we were in our bird era and we didn't know no better. Back in our early 20s, this was 100 years ago, okay? Statute of limitations is up. But we used to say, oh my God, I want a nigga who mean to everybody else but nice to me. Let me tell you, you keep living and you realize that a man who is mean to people in the world will eventually circle around to being mean to you. If every person this person dated was crazy, hey, common denominator. And this is something I even have to think about for myself, where we know that the dating pool has fecal matter and medical waste in it. We know that, right? But I have had to look at myself and say, what is my pattern here that this keeps happening? And sometimes it's not just a you thing. Sometimes it's a combo special, okay? Sometimes it's the wings and the fried rice. Where, yeah, you might have some patterns of behavior that you're co-creating negative experiences. And from a societal perspective, men are not being socialized to be equipped with the mental and emotional skills that they need to thrive in relationships of any kind. That's the thing too, okay? But the more that I talk to my straight male bestie, and he tells me what his experiences with women are currently as he's looking for partnership, and I'm like, I didn't even know women could be toxic like that. My eyes have been opened, okay? It's tough for everyone out here, is my point. However, if you are only looking for a partnership immediately outside of people who look like you, that means something. I'm so sorry, that means something. And the fact that you assume that all these other women are better because you think that culturally they have been bred to be servants. For the non-black women, that don't make you feel crazy? That you're sitting there like catching stray praise because this person hates women who look like him? That's not wild to you? Probably not if you also don't like black women. So, okay, I guess we've arrived at that point. But this is so shitty that I can't just enjoy a hit from the 90s from Brian McKnight without thinking about the fact that, wow, you are a horrible, strange person. And I think I have seen, I'm not going to call no names. I'm not going to call no names, but I have seen people who are super churchy, those holy rollers, and they have regrets about the parts of their life where they were just human. I've seen men say, I wish that I had saved myself for marriage because they have gotten so deep into church. And maybe that's a valid way to feel about yourself. But one of the things that I struggle with in certain organized religions is that they want you to hold yourself to a standard of a spiritual being while expecting you to completely disregard your humanity. And that just breeds a level of shame and self-hatred that isn't good for anybody. And that's what's happening, I think, with Brian McKnight, that you have bifurcated your life into this way, and you're holding on to dear life to your idea of who this new woman is while completely rejecting your black kids. And I don't know, for all I know, he's telling the truth that those kids mistreated him and all of the things. However, and to vilify them in this way, these are feelings that you should only share with a therapist. I am so uncomfortable knowing that this man hates his kids and ultimately himself in this way. And like, you don't feel crazy that maybe it's just a coincidence, perhaps, but you don't feel crazy that the new wife, let me ask this, because the new wife came into the marriage with multiple children. Would you have accepted that from a black woman? That's what the connecting theme is here. Would you accept this same behavior that you praise other people for? Would you accept that same behavior from people who look like you? And you don't have to answer that right now. Write it in your journals and we'll talk about it later. Okay? So that's it for this episode. Thank you guys for joining me. Be sure to like and comment and subscribe and rate and review and join the Patreon and do all of the things, honey. And I will be back soon. Bye.